I don't know about you guys, but I'm still a bit uneasy by not just the inaction of the Bulls at the trade deadline, but more so the post-deadline press conference we got to hear from the man who is running this team in Arturas Karnisovas, because that was an exceptionally bad presser. Like, AK has had some bad interviews before, and generally he's not the best with the media, just not in his personality, but this one was by far the worst one we've seen yet. I mean, I almost was embarrassed for the guy because in his voice, he sounded completely dejected, couldn't speak at all with confidence in his responses. His voice kept trailing off the very end of every sentence when talking about how he felt this was the right group of guys to stay competitive and how he looks forward to the final 30 games of the season. He got some stats incorrect, saying the Bulls were only 3 games back of the 6th seed, which is not true. They were 3 games back of the 8th seed and actually only a little over 3 games ahead of the 11th seed. It was bad, and as a fan, I feel like this one really sat with me thinking, does this guy know what he's doing? Is he just in way over his head and has somehow failed upward into this role? I don't know. Like, there really is no way that he believed half of the stuff he was saying, in that he was selling the fans a competitive group of guys that are going to be pushing for the playoffs. But anyway, though, we got to see this quote-unquote competitive team in action against the G League Grizzlies, who have more guys out of the lineup than you can count on one hand, with 2-way players and 10-day contract guys getting rotational minutes in this game. And the Bulls struggled to even come away with a win. Now, give the Grizzlies credit, and not even just in this game against the Bulls, but in a lot of their recent games. I mean, they play extremely hard and have been winning more games than you would expect given all the injuries to this team. Now, I'm sure some of that is because a lot of these guys are playing for full-time contracts, so they're playing their tails off on every possession, something you'd like to see from the Bulls players. But regardless, I mean, this is more or less a G League squad, and they quite frankly outplayed the Bulls through the first 3 quarters. Now, luckily for the Bulls, as they have done a lot this season, which has been a pleasant surprise, is they've been able to get their act together, shore up some of their play, and play better and smarter in the 4th quarter to get the win. But if that is what we're going to call a competitive team, the definition for what this organization uses compared to mine are vastly different. A competitive team to me is a team that plays the whole 48 minutes. And they give effort on every possession. Like, even in that incredible game against the Timberwolves where they came back down 23, they had a horrible first half. It's how they found themselves in such a big deficit to begin with. Similar situation against the Sacramento Kings, down 30, almost came back and won the game, but they took the whole first half off against a team that was playing a second night of a back-to-back. So yes, as much as there are a lot of nice aspects and things I like about this Bulls team, I like a lot of the guys on the roster, but this isn't a team I would deem to be competitive. Competitive team to me means you're competing for a title, and that is most certainly not the Bulls right now. Now, as for this game, I mean, this is probably going to be pretty quick because there's not really a lot to say. Bulls kind of messed around and played down to their competition, didn't come out with fire and energy, didn't come out to try and prove everyone wrong who was hating on the Bulls for not making any moves at the deadline, didn't come out with momentum from that great comeback win over Minnesota. They were just kind of there. Never really let the game get out of hand. I don't think the Grizzlies ever led by more than single digits in this game, but they led for a good portion of it from midway through the first quarter all the way to the 4th quarter. But the Bulls kept it close. They hung around rather than digging themselves in a deep hole. But again, this is a Grizzlies team we're talking about here that is mostly comprised of G League players. Just a few weeks ago, the Bulls blew these guys out and took care of business with all the injuries. You were kind of hoping that would really be the case tonight, but for the Bulls, they just came out a little lethargic and not as engaged. And then again, very similar to what we have been seeing when they've played down to their competition in the past, except not always, like they saw in that loss against the Raptors more recently, but they tightened up in the 4th quarter and just squeaked by to get the win. And really squeaked by because the Bulls almost messed around and fumbled the game in the final seconds despite being up 9 by giving the Grizzlies threes and then turning the ball over at the other end. But anyway, some key takeaways from this game, both good and bad. You know, we've talked about this before. The Bulls shot the ball well tonight. They shot 54.4% from the field, 46% from 3, and yet they narrowly won the game. Why? Hard to win games when you're not able to get as many possessions as your opponent. The Grizzlies got up 91 shots compared to the Bulls' 79. Slow pace, slow moving offense, few second chance opportunities, and too many turnovers, especially in the first half. That's a result of it. Bulls outworked the Grizzlies on the glass, but it's also easy to get boards when your opponent is putting up way more shots than you are. And unlike what we saw from the Bulls in the second half against the Wolves, where they played superb defense, Bulls' defense was average at best tonight. I did like that Billy Donovan made the adjustment at halftime to have Drummond start alongside Vucevic. I was actually surprised he didn't start Drummond tonight with Vuce because it worked out so well in the last game. But but brought Drummond in to start the second half. Now, that was likely happening with Jaren Jackson Jr. getting the best of Vucevic on offense, and while Vuce overall had a good game, Drummond was fantastic. I mean, it's easy to see why teams wanted this guy. 21 points, 10 for 11, 13 rebounds, brought a lot of energy and hustle. I feel like we're going to be seeing more and more of Vuce and Drummond playing together, especially against bigger lineups, because shockingly, they actually complement each other well when they're on the court. And it's resulted in Vuce getting more open looks from 3, which he's surprisingly hitting now. Tonight, he was 3 for 7 from downtown. He finished the game with 20 and 10 to go along with 5 assists and 2 blocks. And believe it or not, Vuce was actually a team high plus 19 on the night. And then a very efficient game from DeMar, 30 points on 17 shots, 11 for 17, 5 for 5 from the line. In fact, the Bulls' whole starting lineup was perfect from the free throw line tonight. DeMar also had 8 rebounds as well. And then Coby White, quiet on the scoring front tonight, didn't get up as many shots, but he did start to come alive in the fourth quarter and was great at getting to the free throw line. 20 points for Coby on 6 for 12 shooting, 2 for 3 from 3, 6 rebounds and 8 assists. I mean, that's what I've been loving from Coby White this season, is that when he's not being active in terms of getting shots up and scoring, he's finding other ways to get the offense going by way of playmaking and pushing the pace. He's had a lot of games where he's come so close to getting a triple-double. I mean, it's going to happen this season. It's just a matter of time. And then Caruso, Io, solid games for them. Didn't get as many minutes. And AC has cooled down a bit with his shooting from outside, but still a pest on defense, which obviously is always great to see. So anyway, Bulls improved to 25 and 27, back to just 2 games below 500. They've got a big game in Orlando against a team that's just right ahead of them in the standings for 8th. Would be big to get a win and pick up a full game on those guys, but you can't play the way you did tonight if you want to have a chance at taking these guys out, that's for sure. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the game tonight. Let me know in the comments. As always, be sure to subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.